Lovelies, my name is Jessica and welcome to Makeup Misfit. And today's video, we're gonna sit and chat about the 5 eyeshadow palettes that I'm happy I don't own. So a couple of these are either palettes that I never wanted, never had any interest in, or they are palettes that I did really want but never purchased for one reason or another. I have a list here. I do have more than 5, but I'm only going to go through 5 of them with you guys today. So if you would like to see more, if you do like this video, let me know and I will definitely do another part to this. But for now, we're just going to go through the 5 of them. I did get all of these off of Sephora, so I just kind of scrolled and just took screenshots of the palettes that I was happy I did not purchase for one reason or another. So let's get into it, and of course we're going to start this off with a bang. The first palette I'm going to talk about is the ABH Modern Renaissance palette. Now, don't shoot me. I honestly feel like I am the only person or one of who either does not own this palette, has no interest in it, never did, never will, and does not like it. I don't know what it is though. I cannot put my finger on what it is about this palette. But it doesn't do anything for me. It does not spark any joy, does not spark any interest. There's nothing that grabs me about this palette that says, oh, I want this. Even when it first came out and everybody just went crazy for this, I didn't. I do think that this was like the first palette to come out with this color story, and I do enjoy the color story, like these tones and stuff like that, and I do have palettes similar, but it's something about this one that I've just never been interested in. Can't tell you why. I do like some of the ABH palettes. The ones that I've wanted, I own them. The Soft Glam and Norvina, those were both Pan My palettes last year. I have the ABH and Amrezy, like the pink glittered palette. I don't know what it is about this one though, and I honestly feel like I am pretty much one of the only people who does not have this palette or just had no interest in purchasing it ever. But it is what it is. I'm happy I don't own it, because this is also the big Pan That palette for this year. I may have already mentioned that, but I'm glad that I don't have to worry about this palette just kind of sitting in my collection, because that's exactly what would be happening with this right now if I had it. So second, we're going to talk about the Rare Beauty Discovery Eyeshadow Palette. Now, I had seen a sneak peek of this just before it released. I don't know if it was the day before or a week or something along those lines. And at first I saw this and I thought it was super cute. I was like, I really wanted this. I love the layout of it. I do like the color story of it. I was super excited about this. I really wanted it, but I wanted to wait to see what people had to say about it first. And I was crossing my fingers for good reviews. I have never tried really anything from Rare Beauty. I have a couple of the liquid blushes, but that's it. I was never interested in her first 2 eyeshadow palettes. They were all shimmers. So I just totally, I didn't even really look much into those either. Those didn't spark anything. So I just let those pass by. But seeing this one, I really wanted this. And I was really crossing my fingers for good reviews. But I did not really hear very many. I'm pretty sure the Sephora website said that they liked them. But other people, other reviews that I've heard or seen, people just didn't seem to like this. The formula on it, the shade in the middle, people didn't really like, and that was like something that I was super excited about. So I was very disappointed. I kind of held off on this palette, and I'm very glad that I did, even though I was really excited and really wanted this palette. But I feel like if I was to have this palette right now in my collection, it would either just A, be sitting there, or B, this might even be forgotten, which is really sad because I wouldn't want an eyeshadow palette to go forgotten in my collection. And this one is kind of on the edge of possibly being forgotten about, but also just never getting any use out of. So for number 3, we're going to chat about the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. Again, don't shoot me. So I did not want this palette when it first came out. I did own a few of these Sweet Peach items from the line. I did not have this palette, did not want this palette. I couldn't tell you why at the time. And then all of a sudden, a couple years ago, I just had this all of a sudden random spark of interest for this thing that went for about a couple of months. I did not purchase it though. I was debating it. It may have even been on sale at the time. I can't quite remember. I'm not quite sure what had sparked this interest in the palette, but I really, really wanted this and I held off, and thankfully I did. Because after that spark went away, I looked at it again, and honestly, there's so many shades in this palette that I would not use. So why purchase it? Like, I really don't want to have eyeshadow palettes in my collection where I'm not going to use a majority of the shades or even some of the shades. Like, I'm definitely not buying palettes for one shade anymore. I would much rather use every single shade or very close to. Like, if there's a black, I almost don't even want to buy eyeshadow palettes if there's a black shadow in them, because I know I don't use them. I'm not getting that extreme, but at the same time, it's like if there's like 3 or more shades in a palette that I'm not going to use, I almost feel like, what's the point? Because I want to really enjoy and use the eyeshadow palette as a full. And I feel like with so many shades that I wouldn't use, it just kind of defeats the whole purpose of having the eyeshadow palette. So I decided to skip on this one. I'm happy I skipped on this one, and that's where that's at. So next we're going to chat about the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. So this one was a bit of a toss-up for me. I liked the color story when I first saw it. I was slightly interested, but not enough to purchase it. And then I just never really thought much of it afterwards. They did come out with a mini, I believe, for this, and that is what I would have purchased if it was between the two of them. I definitely would have taken the mini. Again, I never did purchase that one though. I do have lots of warm tone palettes. I didn't really need another one. I wouldn't have minded it, and I probably feel like I would have gotten use on it, but I feel like as of right now, it would probably just be sitting in my collection, and I don't want that either. So I'm glad that I didn't purchase this one. I do have the Naked Honey, and I really do enjoy that one and that formula. I've heard, and I could be wrong, but I think I've heard that the honey formula is like the better of all of the Naked palettes. So if that's the case, then I'm not quite sure what the formula of this one was like. I haven't heard anything about it in a long time, and I can't quite remember what I had heard before, but I just feel like it would have been a waste to own this palette for me. And then last but not least, these little Fenty eyeshadows. So they are supposed to snap together, which I thought was super cool, but that was about the extent of it. So out of however many she had released at first, there was not one color story that I liked. They were all very, very simple, very boring to me. Like, and I love neutrals, but they were just nothing. Like, I didn't want anything. I wasn't interested at all. Then they came out with a couple more, and there was a green color story that I really, really liked. And I don't know if they came out when the Melt Gemini palette or the Kaleidos Sci-Fi Green palette came out, but because that kind of like started my love for the grungy green tones and stuff like that. So I don't know if it was around the time or not, but I really did like the color story of that green one. I did not purchase it though, and thankfully I didn't, because I've just heard so many reviews about how the formula is not good at all. I think a couple people didn't mind it, but I believe the majority of them did not like these palettes. So I'm kind of happy that I decided to skip out on that green eyeshadow palette, and honestly, I probably wouldn't have used it. I feel like if any of these eyeshadow palettes were to be rolled into my Panless eyeshadows, I really wouldn't be excited about them, about the shades that are getting pulled in, or just the palette in general. My other panning projects, I can pick and choose the eyeshadow palettes that I decide to use, so I would more than likely be skipping these palettes unless I wanted to make sure that I had used something I haven't used in a long time, or I wanted to get another opinion on it because it had been a while. But a lot of these palettes, especially these Fenty ones as well, would probably be like forgotten in my collection. I would just never reach for it. They'd be put at the back of the cupboard or wherever I'm keeping them, and they just would not get the use or the love that my palettes deserve. And I'm happy with my collection. I've got more things coming in, but I'm happy with what I have, where it's going, what it's looking like. And these palettes would more than likely at some point end up being decluttered. So I really don't want to have that in my collection, and I'm happy I don't have them. So let me know what you guys think of all of these palettes, especially the Modern Renaissance one or the Sweet Peach one, because everybody just loves those palettes so much. what are some palettes that you guys are happy you didn't purchase, if any? I'm super curious to know. And again, if you like this video or if you wanted to hear about any of the other palettes that I'm glad I didn't purchase, other brands, other companies, so not necessarily everything is from Sephora, let me know and I will put together another few lists or whatnot and do another part to this. And yeah, that's everything. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys all later. Bye.